Hi everyone, thank you so much for being here and good afternoon. So before we begin, I'd actually like to share a story with you. This is a story of a young boy called Manan. And Manan had a really cute furry friend called Kiwi. He took Kiwi everywhere he went. Whether it was his school, his garden, everywhere, he was his companion. But one day, he lost Kiwi. And you can imagine, Manan was so devastated. He was so lonely and sad. And he had so many different emotions inside. And he looked for Kiwi everywhere, but he couldn't find him. And after all of this, of course, to express his emotions, he felt the need to cry. And when he did that, people around him said, men don't cry. Boys don't cry. Are you crazy? Only girls cry. And he was told to man up. So at that point, when he felt an intense emotion come in, which he didn't know how to deal with, he was taught to suppress it. And he learned that that is the only way to feel okay. As he grew up, this became his coping mechanism, where he felt that he needed to suppress any intense emotion that he felt, whether it was anger, anxiety, or anything at all. And because of this, he couldn't understand what he was feeling, what he was going through, and it was chaos in terms of what he was going through in terms of his emotions. So what he felt was that feelings just go away when we don't pay attention to them. And that's what he learned. Do you agree? Do you also feel this way? So my question to you is, do you think feelings go away when we don't pay attention to them or if we ignore them? So I can see some heads nodding here. So it's definitely a no. The point here is to give them the space that they need. And the intensity of these emotions decreases with time. And of course, it's not easy. Nobody has taught us all of this. So it's important to learn these skills in order to feel our feelings. So the next question that comes in our mind is, how do we feel our feelings, right? So firstly, it's important to identify what we're feeling in that very moment. It can be anything, but for example, I'm feeling stressed out and I can tell that I'm having a really bad headache. So I just acknowledge that it's okay, Manasi, right now I'm stressed. Secondly is also to identify where I feel it in my body. And all of us have different ways of expressing what we're feeling. So for example, somebody might have a headache, or for somebody else, they might just feel like eating a lot, or they might feel a stomach pain that's just too painful for them. So to each their own, but it's important to identify what we're feeling and where we're feeling it in our body. And the third aspect that here comes is, if my feeling or emotion could talk, what would it say? So our emotions actually have an important role to play. For example, if we get angry at somebody, it might be because our boundaries are getting stepped on. And at that very moment, we felt that we needed to react that way. So just to sit with that feeling, to breathe, to give us that time, and to understand what is that emotion trying to say to me. And that's when expression comes in. Because it's not easy for all of us to articulate our thoughts. We've not learned all of these skills as kids. Most of us haven't. And next, we also have two other questions that also help us identify what our needs are in that very moment. What do I need right now? A lot of times, I just need hugs from my closest friends who are also present here. And at that very moment, I go to them to just express my need. And the next question here is, what can I do to meet my need? So just to identify what works for you, what aspect of self-care works for you. Because for everybody, this journey is different. So now when we're on the topic of expression, what do you think of the term expression? What comes to your mind when I say this word? And all of us have different languages of expression altogether. For example, for my closest friend, it's dance. For somebody else, it might be art, journaling, or even makeup, right? So here, as you can see, we have, what if I told you that we actually have a form of therapy that helps you use all of these media and tools and technologies to express yourself. And that is called expressive arts therapy. So I'm sure when you hear of the term therapy, you would imagine somebody sitting opposite you where you're sharing your thoughts. And expressive arts therapy also includes talk therapy, but it's much more. It includes movement, breath work, and whatnot, even clay therapy and sand therapy. Just imagine if we could all be kids as we were and explore our emotions the way we did as kids. So this is the world of expressive arts, and it goes much beyond all of what is present here and written on the slide behind me. So to give you a glimpse of the same, we would do a small activity. So I would request you to just think of a challenge that you're facing in your life. And it doesn't have to be a huge challenge, just something on a scale of maybe 2 or 3 in terms of the level of challenge that it presents in your life. And just try to sit with that challenge. It can be anything at all. It can be related to your career, your health, your relationships. And as you're doing that, try to think of what is in your control in that very situation and what is outside your control. And for all of us, these responses would differ. Just sit with it for a moment, and I'm sure that some of your responses would also resonate with the words written here. Something that's in our control is how we're feeling, how we interact with somebody else. Our words, actions, how we treat others, our decisions, how we take care of ourselves. And something that's beyond our control is how other people feel, other people's choices. And of course, we can influence all of it. But at the end of the day, it's not something that's in our control. And there are so many other concepts as well. Maybe something relevant to your situation can be the weather or the results of elections. That's beyond your control. You can influence it to a level, but it's not something that you can control altogether. So this was a very small technique, and it's not even the tip of the iceberg in the world of expressive arts. But such a technique also helps us just understand where to focus our energy and what to focus on. And that might help us cope with uncertainty or anxiety that we're facing. So after you've done this activity, just take a deep breath, pat yourself on the back because you thought of a challenge, and you also try to navigate it. So that's great. And now, when we talk about the different benefits of expressive arts therapy, I'm sure that you could at least see a hint of one of it, that was clarity of thought, right? And a lot of times it's so difficult to articulate what we're feeling. We just don't seem to understand what we're feeling or what to write. But it becomes much easier if we have one medium or the other to express ourselves. Another amazing aspect of expressive arts is that it helps us tap into our subconscious mind. So it's not just, thoughts that are coming in. There are a lot of, things that we store inside that we're also not aware of that come up in sessions with a practitioner or a therapist. And as you can see on the screen, there are so many other things. The first one is, of course, emotional healing. Haven't we all used some or the other medium to express ourselves when we fell down? It might be anything at all. It's so cathartic to actually, express ourselves using any medium. And it also brings in self-awareness, a lot of insights into our life. So with that, you would be curious to know, how can I actually integrate this into my life? So the first aspect is, please try to find a certified therapist or a practitioner who can actually facilitate these sessions for you. So one example is group sessions. All of us also support each other, and communities are so important because we need safe sharing spaces to express. So we have group sessions where we have different activities and different modalities. And one common misconception that I hear when I mention the word expressive arts is that I don't draw. I'm sorry, this is not for me. I'm not interested in art. But this is not just about art. It's music. It's anything that makes you feel alive. So you can try group therapy. There are also customized individual sessions. So it's so important that all of us spend time with ourselves to explore how we like to express. So the fourth aspect is a personal tool for expression and regulation. And with that, we'll move to the next slide. So first, it's so important to focus on the aspect of expression. And that is why we would like to emphasize on the fact that express and don't suppress. The first aspect is, how can we practice mindfulness using any medium? So it can be anything at all. It can be a part of your self-care routine. For example, it can be a little dance that you do in the morning to cheer yourself up. Or it can be journaling that you do at the end of the day to just reflect on how your day was. Or it can also be play therapy, spending time with your pets, with people who you can be your authentic, true self with. So this is one aspect of expression. The second one is exploring art workshops and whatnot. And it can be spaces where you feel safe to share. Because as important it is to share, it's also important for us to have that environment that creates that space for us to express ourselves. So where do you feel safe? Who can you go to? And which communities can you rely on? And the most important aspect here is, we've all been conditioned, right, to have the perfect aesthetic, to be the perfect dancer, perfect artist. We need not even make the smallest amount of mistake. But if expressive arts is all about exploration. How do you explore your emotions? It's not about the end result. At the end of the day, you can even have a dot on the entire canvas, and it can mean something to you. So the third aspect is embrace imperfection and embrace the process. And that is why we'll come to our ending quote, which also says that it's all about the journey. And when we talk about exploring ourselves and our emotions, again, it's just a journey, and it's not about the destination. So whenever you feel an intense emotion, give yourself that grace and love, because it's not easy, right, to deal with such emotions. And when you do that, take a deep breath, sit with it, identify it, and embrace all the different hues of your mind. Thank you so much.